Okay, it is a little bit after 4 SA time. A very warm welcome to the GARN Africa Hub webinar titled Rivers Are Alive, an engaging discussion on African cosmologies, ancestral wisdom, and the rights of nature in practice across Ghana, Kenya, and South Africa. My name is Suri on behalf of GARN African Hub. Thank you for joining us today. This webinar will bring together 3 powerful voices from across Africa, each working at the intersection of Indigenous knowledge, community action, and the legal and ethical frontier of the rights of nature. So before we begin, let me take a moment to walk you through how this webinar will be run so you know what to expect. As I mentioned earlier, we have our 3 speakers presenting to us today, and we want to make sure that each of them gets the time and attention that their work deserves. So each speaker will have a dedicated time to present, and we ask that you hold your questions until the end. We want to give each presenter the space to take us fully through their work without interruption. As you listen to each presentation, please use the chat or the Q&A function on your screen to type in your questions as they come to you. Don't wait until the end. Jot them down as they arise so we don't lose them. Please also indicate which speaker your question is directed to. Once all the 3 presentations are complete, we will open the floor for the questions. We will be taking 6 questions in total, 2 questions per speaker. This ensures that every speaker has an equal opportunity to engage with the audience. So today we will first hear from Dr. Dickson Adom from Ghana, whose research on the Vhembe River combines scientific water quality analysis with indigenous ecological knowledge to build a case for river rights protections, pushing back against the destruction caused by illegal mining. And from South Africa, Ms. Mphatheleni Makaulule, who will take us to the Vhembe Biosphere Reserve, where her organization, Dzomo la Mupo, is working to restore the Mudzinga River by reviving Venda cultural values, customary ethics, and traditional governance as practical solutions to plastic pollution and wetland degradation. And from Kenya, we have Mr. Gathuru Mburu, who will share how communities along with Katitha River, a sacred waterway with 14 spiritual sites, are pushing for its rights to be formally recognized in county-level policy as the river faces serious threats from water abstraction and climate impact. Together, these 3 presentations reflect a growing African movement, one that weaves together science, spirituality, indigenous knowledge, and legal advocacy to secure lasting protection for rivers and the communities that depend on them. Without any delay, I will be showing the presentation from Dr. Dickson Adom. So before I do that, I will then introduce Dr. Dickson Adom, a senior lecturer at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and a director of the Rights of Nature Ghana Movement, a South Black Global Fellow, and 2019 RU Forum Young Scientist Award winner. He is a leading voice on environmental sustainability, indigenous ecological knowledge, and the rights of nature movement in Ghana, with recent work on illegal mining's impact on freshwater ecosystem and the protection of sacred rivers. So today, I will show his presentation, which is titled Championing River Rights in Ghana, Protecting the Vhembe River from Illegal Mining Through Science, Indigenous Knowledge, and Community Action. So he will take us into the heart of comprehensive study on the Vhembe River, which is a freshwater ecosystem under serious threat from illegal mining. Let's hear from Dr. Dickson.
All right, so good afternoon to all of you. The theme I'm presenting on is championing river rights, protecting the Vhembe River from illegal mining through science, indigenous knowledge, and community action. So my name is Dickson Adom. I serve as a senior lecturer in the Department of Educational Innovation. So I want to start with the sorry state of Ghana's rivers. When you look at the map, you see the rivers in Ghana. We call them mighty rivers because of their expansive nature and the number of communities that they serve. But scientific research have shown that majority of these mighty rivers are murky, they are poisoned, they are contaminated, and their turbidity levels exceeds the 2,000 that has been specified, over 120. And the Ghana Water Company in 2024 mentioned that their water processing machines cannot process these high turbidity levels. And the state water utility states that Ghana risks becoming an importer of water if we don't do anything about how illegal mining we call galamsey is affecting our rivers by 2030. And the water quality index in several research like that of Boatin shows that the water quality index ranges from 39 to 48, which is very poor. So this tells you how Ghana's rivers are suffering. So these are some of the pictures of the plight of Ghana's rivers. The Pra River, the Ankobra River, the Tano River, the Brim River, the Amanzule River, all of them are polluted. You can tell from their colors. And these contamination, these high levels of contamination or ecological atrocities to the rivers in Ghana are causing a lot of health implications. For instance, in a report by the Take on Typhoid in 2023, it says that the poison and murky waters in Ghana are affecting our lungs, they are affecting our kidneys, and they are resulting in diseases like cancer, and newborn babies are not even spared. They have developmental challenges. They even have skin rashes. And that is the state of a certain child born by a 20-year-old mother in Western region. The baby was born with a cleft lip. It's so sad. And in Western region, a young girl called Comfort, 13-year-old, died as a result of consuming poison water from an illegal mining-prone area. For indigenous communities, what is happening is not new to us because we know the cause. The rivers are annoyed. They are angry. And we see this in some of our proverbs. One indigenous Ghanaian proverb says, Owo ka enibre. What this means in English is the snake only bites when she is angered. And there is another proverb that says, papa enye grede. So if something did not touch the dried palm frond, it will not make a sound. So this tells us that it is the negative anthropocentric activities that are causing the rivers to be angered, is causing the public health crisis that I earlier mentioned. Thomas Berry, who is an influential thinker in the 20th century, said, we have lost our primary text, our original literacy, our green language, which is woven in traditional ecological literacy. So how can we reverse the situation? We see the solution in African ancestral wisdom. So one indigenous Ghanaian cultural symbol says, we have to go back and fetch. It's called Sankofa. And the brain behind it is not wrong for us to go back and fetch what we have forgotten. And it's a humble, expedition to do that. We know that indigenous communities have never severed their harmonious relationship with our rivers. So if we want the rivers to treat us well, then we have to go back and learn from African ancestral wisdom. We need to transform the traditional environmental laws and then imbibe it with the rise of nature philosophy. That is the way forward. And I'm saying this because our indigenous statutes for rivers aligns well with the river right. In the work of Sabrina in 2021, she highlighted 6 different rights of rivers. The rights of rivers to flow, the rights of rivers to be free from pollution, the rights of rivers to perform essential functions within her ecosystem, the rights of rivers to regenerate and restore, the rights of rivers to feed and be fed by sustainable aquifers, and the rights of rivers to enjoy native biodiversity. And just all of us to know that all these 6 river rights are embedded in indigenous statutes for rivers. For instance, indigenous communities have this statute that we are not supposed to block the pathways of rivers, because if we do that, we are going to anger the rivers and our ancestors. We are not supposed to bath or wash or dump any foreign substance in rivers, because if we do that, our days will become short. We are not supposed to fish on taboo days, on Tuesdays and Sundays. All these indigenous statutes protected rivers. Now, I want to talk about the Vhembe River, which is the only source of water for the Atetem people in the Ashanti region. It has a forest cover of 25,000 hectares. It's a home for several beautiful birds, like the white-necked picatatis, which is a highly vulnerable species. It is also the home of the West African slender-snouted crocodiles, bee colonies, bats, and several other rich biodiversity. Now, this Vhembe River plays several cultural roles in the lives of the Atetem people. It serves as their identity, their history, their culture, because in their indigenous, it is said the river gave them the place where they stay now. And the river is masculine and is very powerful. And there is this reciprocal, relationship, relational ontology between the Vhembe River and the people, because they believe that if they protect the river in its pristine form, it is then that the river will also protect them and give them all the things that they need. Now, the Vhembe River gave them, the Atetem people, some commandment, the 4 commandments. The Vhembe River told them not to destroy his purity and sanctity. The river also told them not to scrape off the buffer zones we call the forest vegetation bank. The Vhembe River also told them that his children, that are the fish and other fauna species within the river, they are not supposed to greedily or selfishly take them. And the Vhembe River also told them that his mighty pathways are not supposed to be blocked or altered. So in the picture, you can see some pacification rites that are constantly performed to appease the river, so that the river can also give the people all the protection that they need. But the sad thing, as you can see in this picture, is that the lower section of the Vhembe River is contaminated, and the people are, protesting against this. The sad thing also is that the local leadership, those in the district assembly and the local community committees, have taken monies from illegal miners, and they are allowing them to mine at the lower section of the river. And now they want to go to the waterheads and then tint the purity. So in this map, you see the Vhembe River, but you see that sections of the river and the buffer zones, the forest vegetation band, have been polluted due to illegal mining currently going on. Ronald conducted an ecological research. We conducted a water contamination and risk assessment of illegal mining at the Atetem community, specifically on the river. We evaluated the physiochemical parameters, the pH, the turbidity levels, and the presence of heavy chemicals like arsenic, cadmium, chromium, mercury, lead. And as you can see on the table on the far right, they have exceeded their level. And this is worrying because it has rendered the river unsafe for drinking. So what the Rise of Nature Ghana movement, which I lead, have done is that we have shared the water analysis research with all the agencies that matter most when it comes to environmental governance in Ghana. When we presented the findings of the research to community members, you can tell from their faces how worried they were that the purity of the river has been tainted or damaged, which would mean they are no more going to enjoy the goodies from their deity, the Vhembe River. So what we did to help them was to develop the Vhembe River Rights and Protection Bylaw. And this bylaw takes roots from the water rights we have in the Ghana's constitution that grants traditional authorities to form local water committees, and then to also have a say when it comes to how rivers or general water elements are supposed to use. So you can see the sections of the Vhembe River Rights and Protection Bylaw that we co-developed with the Atetem community. You can see its background. We have the the constitutional provisions. We have the history and significance of the river, the ecological health of the river, and why it deserves ecological justice. We have given global examples of river rights and the Universal Declaration on River Rights. And then we have spelled out the rights of the river, their protection mechanisms, the guardianship, which is a hybrid form borrowing from the obligational and kin-centric, as well as the community or municipal guardianship models, and the enforcement and remedies, as well as the offenses and penalties. We have also conducted a social legal research that took us 2 years. And the overarching objective of that research was to assess the existing legal frameworks in Ghana and also to sort for stakeholders' perspectives on whether we can integrate the rights of nature into Ghana's environmental governance. You can read the full report on the link that I've given below. But one essential finding, which I want all of us to know, is that there is an overwhelming public support for the rights of nature, which is 90.5. Stakeholders working in EPA, all the regulatory agencies are now endorsing that the integration of the rights of nature into Ghana's environmental legal framework. You can read more on it on this link. We have also made submissions to Ghana's Constitution Review Committee. We made a solo submission, and we also made inputs into the legal working group for CSOs in Ghana. And we made 4 key suggestions. One was to reformulate Article 13, which is on the protection of the rights of life, under the Chapter 5 on fundamental human rights. And we said we should also recognize the rights of natural elements. And we also called for a reformulation of Article 26 on cultural rights to give indigenous communities the rights to uphold ancestral wisdom that undergirds the rights of nature for the natural elements within their space. We have also pushed that we should bestow personhood rights on all natural elements within protected areas in Ghana, and then to apply ecocide law to criminalize all forms of ecological atrocities meted out to natural elements in Ghana. So we have made this submission to the Constitution Review Committee, but unfortunately, they failed to recognize the rights of nature in their recommendations. But they picked some basic, principles they feel can govern how natural elements are used. They call it natural resources because they need education. And among the 13 basic principles, 4 of them are, resonates or aligns with the rights of nature philosophy. And these are the intergenerational equity, sustainability and environmental stewardship, equitable and reasonable utilization, obligation to restoration and rehabilitation. And the good thing is that they have taken our suggestion on passing ecocide as a means of punishing dominance in Ghana. We understand, members of RONAC understand that the view of frustration in his work in 1972, Stone mentioned that entities like enslaved people, women, children, indigenous populations, initially, when we wanted to give them rights, it was seen as absurd, but now they have the rights. So this gives us hope that one day, the rights of nature will be granted in Ghana.
Thank you for showing us how science and indigenous knowledge can work hand in hand to build a legal case for rivers' rights. But what strikes me about your work is how the community itself becomes the driving force for change. That theme of community as custodian runs deeply into our next presentation, moving from Ghana to South Africa. Mphatheleni Makaulule of Dzomo la Mupo takes us to the Vhembe Biosphere Reserve, where the question isn't just about mining or pollution, it's about what happens when people become disconnected from the cultural values and taboos that once kept rivers and wetlands clean. Mphatheleni is an indigenous knowledge practitioner from Venda, South Africa, and she is a founder of the Mupo Foundation, now it's called Dzomo la Mupo. For over 35 years, she has worked with Bavenda elders, youth, and the Makadzes, the women custodians, to revive indigenous ecological practices and defend sacred sites and forests. She's also a board member of the Wildlaw Institute and Eco-Mapping Facilitator with EarthLife Africa. She has pioneered ecological mapping methodologies for community advocacy and just transition work. and recently earned her Master's in African Studies from University of Venda. So in her presentation titled Restoration of the Mudzinga River by Dzomo la Mupo, in the Vuva College in Vhembe Biosphere Reserve, Mphatheleni brings us into a story that began with a concern since the 90s that the people of Vuva village has begun degrading the Mudzinga village through deforestation, soil erosion, and waste dumping, turning the sacred Gadabi wetland into grazing area. And she traces this issue to a disconnection from traditional Bavenda values and customary laws that once kept the rivers and forests clean. So over to you, Mphatheleni.
Lokobela, for us, it is going to the sunset. This is one of the rights of nature. The youth, the children, the unborn still have rights to see the flow of the sun to the sunset. And this happens when we have the lifelines, the life bodies of the earth. The moon cannot travel well up there if the rivers are normal, if the wetlands are normal. This is where the ecological calendar flow of the season become affected. In our indigenous knowledge, understanding life system, we Venda of Africa in the south, we are governed. Our life is facilitated by the moon. And the Mupo, island Mupo, also relates to Shiva, to Gaia, the spirit of creation. Place we moon, women, as Makadzi. The moon is not only in Venda. We Venda, we call moon Makadzi, meaning women. And this moon travel in us, in our veins, the mother air, the Makadzis, the girls, the daughters, the mothers. In the Venda indigenous knowledge, the rivers, the fountains, the wetland, in the indigenous ways, is in the responsibility of women. Mudzinga River is getting destroyed, is getting interfered because that law of nature of that women are the one responsible for the rivers wetland is no longer practiced. That's why we see that to revive Mudzinga River life system, it needs to go back to the ancient wisdom of the law of ways of understanding the rivers. We need to walk on the footprint of our ancestors because when living, we are the memory of our ancestors. Mudzinga River is starting from the wetland, which is a big wetland called Gadabi in Vuva village. And the Mudzinga River flows to Mudzinga River. Mudzinga River flows into Njelele River, which is the longest flowing river in the Vhembe Biosphere, and Njelele pours into Vhembe River known as Limpopo River, and the Limpopo River pours to the ocean, to the sea. This line when get cut off, the ocean get affected. The Limpopo River get affected. Njelele River get affected. Back to Mudzinga River. In our Venda system on the original language, we have prophets which says, Lunane luhulu lunane mulambo, ti awe zwina usiku vamwe bolala. The one who should worry should have been the river, Nemulambo, and say, why don't I rest and sleep? Because all creatures, everything go to rest. But I'm created to not sleep. I flow day and night, winter, summer, sunny, hot, winter. I always flow. And this is how the indigenous people originated to this the river. And they respond to this proverbs. All creatures say, you river, cool, keep quiet and continue to flow because you are the one who make everything to survive. Meaning that you water in the river, don't worry, keep flowing because you are the one who survives every system of life. As because of the impact we say river is water is life. Everything need water. But the indigenous people from origin, they praise the river and say, the river is saying, why don't I sleep? I always flow every day, night, winter, whether is which condition. But all creatures praise the water, say, keep on flowing. I wish this video play, but I don't know if it will play. It's less than a minute. where we wanted to still calm. Thank you. Can we all calm and listen to this voice? It's less than a minute. It's the water of Mudzinga flowing. Clean as we can see now. Is when the younger women, the young girls, after sitting with the elders and listening to the story of Mudzinga River, they went all garbages, everything which is there. And after cleaning, we see that days coming, the river become clean and the water start to flow. That's why this presentation, I got attention that we need to pay attention on reminding ourselves, the whole Africa, a traditional knowledge about waste management, where everywhere when you go now in African rivers, it's a garbage everywhere. It's dumping. When people see the river, they see the dumping place. When people see the wetland, they dump there, because this traditional customs of respecting river is not in the policy, it's not even in the politics. When they see the water, they see the tap, you must close the tap. They don't see that we have to keep our rivers, our wetlands clean, because forsaking the traditional ways, we see the water in the tap, we see the water in the bathroom. We no longer see Mudzinga River. We want to bring back Dale Dale. Dale Dale is the indigenous, traditional, cultural dumping place which was there in the homestead of African home. As Vhembe village, I grew up where there was Dale Dale at my home, which regulate the disposal of the baby napkins. In African way, the baby napkin, you cannot even throw it outside the gate. But let's go to our rivers today. Young women, because they are not connected with the indigenous knowledge, they throw the baby napkins in the rivers. They dispose this in the rivers, while in the tradition it's not allowed for the baby poo to be seen by anyone. But our law does not accommodate those laws. The Vhembe community, their source of water in the tap in the bathroom is from Mudzinga River, because there's no pipeline which was made there. Mudzinga River is an example how the need of our traditional dumping place needs to come back. Women responsibility. These are the napkins, and it's not the napkins of the babies. Even for the sick people, for the people who can't walk, the same Vhembe people, they are dropping these things in the same river where they are sourcing the water to the tap. To the tap at home. And they don't understand that because the law didn't put it. As Mudzinga River, as young people who are picking this garbage, we request the laws and policies to bring back the ethical drive by putting the traditional customs in the law. How can we talk about indigenous knowledge in academics, in everywhere, in policy, in heritage, but we don't want to walk on the footprint of our ancestors, meaning living the really living life of the memories of our ancestors? Because all elders who are in the grave, they will be shocked to see the baby napkins dumped in the rivers. In this presentation using Mudzinga River, can we find it? White Law Institute, Kenya, Ghana, assisting us Africa, that women should be placed to bring the voices in the law of protecting the rivers and bringing back the ethics that a river is not a dumping place. A river is a sacred space. For lifetime, as the moon even wants to touch for the communication of precipitation, that the rain come and we get nourished. I'm stopping here using Mudzinga River and the knowledge we get from Ghana, the knowledge we get from Kenya, to see rivers as sacred places. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mphatheleni. Gathuru is an environmental practitioner and advocate with a master's degree in environmental management and planning. And his career spans from local community work all the way to global environmental policy. So he also holds a master's in environmental management and planning with extensive knowledge in and experience, including 8 years as a general coordinator of the African Biodiversity Network and engagement with the CBD, IUCN, UNESCO, and IPBES, currently with the Institute for Culture and Ecology at Ngato Community Foundation. He also works at the intersection of Indigenous knowledge and policy, including efforts to restore eco-spiritual relationships with Mount Kenya and advance rights-based protection for the Gathuru River. He's also a facilitator of the GARN African Hub.
Yeah, thank you, and welcome all. So my name is Gathuru Mburu. I work with the Institute for Culture and Ecology and also support Gather Community Foundation in Kenya, and I'm also the facilitator for GARN Africa Hub. I'll be talking about Gathuru River, which is a river that is sacred to the communities that where it passes. And the content of my presentation is that I will be describing the Gathuru River, and then I will give a small description of how mobilization and actions have been taken in protecting the river. And then I will add with the pathways that we are now adopting in moving forward. So Gathuru River, you can see that photo there, and the red dots indicate sacred sites on the river. It starts from Mount Kenya, which is also sacred, and joins Tana River. At the junction or confluence with Tana River, there is also another sacred site. Tana River flows down to the Indian Ocean, and the river is about 65 kilometers long, with 14 potted sacred points on its course. And these are the ones that are dotted red, and these are the ones that actually made or brought up the issue of interest from the local community and other stakeholders to see how the river can be protected. It starts at a sacred site. I think I've said that. The river is actually threatened a lot because of the destruction of the riparian area. There is over abstraction of water, the waning respect for sacred sites due to constructing modern value systems, the political overreach in policy implementation, and also pollution. So those photos, the one to the left, they basically show different stages of the river. Most of the sacred sites are waterfalls. There are few of them, the sacred sites that are on calm, low-flowing or level areas on the river. So most of them are actually waterfalls, and this is why it has attracted a lot of interest. So the stakeholder mobilization and the actions that have been taken when we were invited by the local community to assist them to put together a local mobilization and community sensitization process, the first thing that we did was mobilizing the communities along clans, because all sacred sites in the Taraka community, they are associated with different clans. So all those sacred sites that you've seen along the river, they are associated with different clans. So then we supported the community to form a community advocacy organization, which is comprised of representatives from the different clans, and these are the people who have been advocating for the biocultural protection of the river, and also trying to sensitize the local people, the farmers whose lands have touched the riparian areas and the like. So we also assisted community mapping of the river, and the photo that you can see there, it shows the community doing a map of Gathuru River. When they are doing mapping, so that they can assess the damage, they could draw a map of the past, a map of the present, and then for them to enable them to plan how they would like to see the river protected, then they would do a third map they would call a map of the future. And then together with the community, we looped in the National Museums of Kenya, are actually the ones who are mandated in Kenya in the gazettement and protection of sacred sites. So they managed to map all those sites and gazette them. So all the sites on the river are now gazetted as sacred sites. So the pathways that we've been using in moving ahead, one is the community declaration of Kadita River as sacred, which is buttressed on the issue of biocultural rights. The communities have their own rights, and in the Constitution gives all communities in Kenya rights to their culture and their traditions. So they are going to use this in moving or lobbying for the different community sectors to support the process of the community declaration of Kadita River as sacred. So they will be holding community dialogues so that they can sensitize the people. They will be so this community sensitization will need to take a broad-based process so that as many people as possible are sensitized, and then along the way we will be onboarding the culture departments from 2 county governments, that is the county government of Meru and the county government of Tharaka Nithi, where the river passes. And then we will further onboard the National Museums of Kenya because all issues related to culture, they are sort of taken care of within the National Museums of Kenya. So the other pathway that we are working together with the different stakeholders is how the rights of Kadita River can be recognized. And this has taken different strategies. One is working together with Tharaka Nithi County so that they can develop a culture and heritage policy, which they have done, and it is now on the final stages of approval. And one of the interesting things is that when this policy was being taken out to the communities for public participation, most of the people, or I don't think there is, we didn't get any feedback that people were against such a policy, because they do understand how useful it's going to be, and now that there will be a way of connecting government and the communities to work together so that policy and traditional ecological knowledge can work together. So this policy is very, very progressive. And in fact, in one of the sections, it has directly mentioned rights of nature. So this is one of the documents that are going to be used in fronting the case for recognition of rights of Kadita River. And then the next thing that is going to happen is creating a multi-stakeholder committee, which is ongoing at the moment. And the multi-stakeholder committee will involve a number of stakeholders, which you'll be showing down there on a different slide. And the reason for doing this is that the river does not belong to one stakeholder only. Even though culturally the Tharaka community, they are the cultural guardians, but the government is there, there are researchers, there are academia, there are so many different stakeholders who have interest in the river. So in moving the rights of the river, then we need to bring all these stakeholders together so that there is consensus in this pathway. And then there is going to be a public petition to relevant government agencies or agency so that they can issue a declaration on the recognition of rights of Kadita River. And this is happening now. Research is ongoing to develop a document that will be used. The different stakeholders are talking to each other so that they can agree on how that document will be developed. And then this slide shows different sections of the river. And as I said, it has, since it comes or it emanates from Mount Kenya, it has very diverse sections, some of them very fast flowing, others very calm and slow flowing, and in other areas you find there are rocky outcrops on the coast. And that gentleman you see there, he is presenting a community map that they developed from their knowledge and experience of the river. So the stakeholders in the process, or different processes, because as I've said, we are taking two pathways, the biocultural rights pathway and the rights of nature pathway. But in all these processes, we are going to have different stakeholders, and the key stakeholder there is the community. We are also going to have government agencies. In Kenya, we now have a two-tier government. We have the county governments and the national government. And county governments have their roles and responsibilities in respect of rivers and water, and the government, national government, also have their roles in respect of the same. We are also going to have the academia as a key stakeholder, and also researchers. There is a reason why I've put the indigenous knowledge holders separate from community. This is because they are the custodians of indigenous knowledge. They are the leaders in terms of how traditional ecological knowledge and law are applied, and therefore they are going to be very instrumental when it comes to the development of materials, and also the documentation of the traditional ecological law and practices. So in a nutshell, that's the work in progress. It has already started. It has taken quite some time, but we are getting results in phases. As I said, first we got the results of the revitalization of the community knowledge holders and their cultural systems, and then we got the result of the gazettement of the sacred sites, and now we have the policy that is being used, and the multi-stakeholder platform is being formed. So all these are geared towards the two pathways that I've mentioned, the biocultural pathway, which will lead to a declaration by the community that the river is sacred, and then the rights of Kadita River, which will need to be declared by a certain body or from the government. Thank you so much, and asanteni sana.
Asante sana, Gathuru. And I'd like to thank all our three speakers today. They've taken us through thought-provoking and inspirational presentations. So we have truly taken a journey today from Vhembe River in Ghana to Mudzinga River in South Africa and the Gathuru River in Kenya. Okay. Thank you very much. So as I reflect on what we've heard today, there is a clear thread that runs through all the three presentations, whether it's Vhembe River, is Mudzinga, is Kadita River. They are just not just bodies of water, they are living relationships. They carry culture, memory, spirituality, and life itself for the communities that have long been their guardians. So Dr. Adom showed us that science and indigenous knowledge together built an undeniable case for river rights. So Mphatheleni reminded us that the answers are often already within our communities in the ethics, values, and customary practices that predate any written law. And Gathuru, of course, has shown us that truths can and must find their way into formal policy, because protection without recognition only goes so far. So what unites all the three is a refusal to accept that rivers are simply resources to be used. They are right holders. They are sacred. And the communities standing up for them are doing some of the most important environmental justice work on the continent. So to all our three speakers, thank you for your dedication, your scholarship, and your activism. And to everyone who is joining us today or who joined us today, we hope that this conversation has sparked something within you. You just had a very spiritually charged presentation from Mphatheleni just now. So the Rights of Nature movement in Africa is growing, and every one of us has a role to play in it. Thank you and goodbye.